All right. So my name is Carol Thompson. I am an executive senior sales director with Mary Kay Canada. I've been in Mary Kay now. It's 8 years. It was my 8th anniversary in March. And what I love about what I do is that I sell, for sure, I sell makeup and skincare in Mary Kay. And I lead a team of about 500 women. The team that I have, of course, just like your teams, would not all be active. So don't worry. I don't spend my days answering questions from 500 people. I would lose my mind. And I am a six-figure earner in Mary Kay. I have earned 5 cars. I have to remember my accolades, Tara. 5 cars, like 25 diamond rings, something like that. I was #1 in Canada in 2016. 16, #2 in Canada in 2015, and I have been a top 10 in the top 10 in our unit every single year since 2015. So that's our goal this year. I've earned top director trips to London, to Rome, to Venice, and last year we went on a top director trip cruise to Alaska, where we had it all decked out and ready to go. I do not love cruises, but that's okay. I would do these top director trips in like a warehouse in Regina because I love the people that I'm with. So this next year, this trip in September is to Argentina and Chile. And that's my goal right now, is to finish the qualifications for that. All right. So that's pretty much it. I am a really big deal. So there you go.
A completely big deal.
I mean,
that story is awesome. I love watching you. I love watching you accomplish, and I'm like right there at the finish line every year, cheering you on in your little sales group, going, "Come on, what can we do?"
Yeah, my favorite is always like June 30th when Tara's like, I always save money just to buy more stuff because that's our year end. So we're at the last 2 months of the stretch. So if you see me looking a little Cookie Monster-eyed, make sure you friend me on Facebook so you can see me looking crazy every day because it gets a little bit nuts. My children hide from me. My husband hides from me. Whatever. And then I make it up to them in September when I leave my children and I take my husband on these trips. I started my Mary Kay business actually because we were going through what I like to call a personal economic recession. I was a junior high teacher for 12 years before that. And we moved and then realized that my husband had been paying our credit line with our credit cards and our credit cards with our credit line without telling me. And we were $125,000, I think, in consumer debt overall, and that wasn't including our mortgage, our car, anything. So when the bank almost didn't give us our loan for our house, and we had been living homeless before that in a 1976 Travel Air in a campground with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I'm the primary breadwinner. So I really felt like it was all sort of on me. I had some temporary contracts, but because I have a master's degree, it cost too much, and I have tenure in Alberta, so I was the same salary rate as a teacher's 3 first-year teachers. So of course they weren't going to hire me for a full-time job. So I was just kind of working all these different temporary contracts, paying almost as much in childcare as I was earning, you know how that goes, and really frustrated just with the whole process. It was a lot of work. So I decided to run a daycare in my home for a year. And then I didn't even make it that far. And then in March, turns out I don't really like kids for somebody who became a teacher. So I decided to run a daycare, and Mary Kay sort of came into my life in March of 2010. I had no intention of ever doing direct sales, of ever doing anything like that. I had honestly really believed that anybody in these companies didn't really make any money, that they spent more money than they made. I loved the products, but I didn't really get it until who is now my national sales director showed me her income statement. And I was like, all right, I'm in. So I started like a lot of my team does by saying things like, I'm not going to do a lot, or I'm just going to do this as a hobby, or I'm just going to see how it goes. You know, you get that, right? And then it sort of got into me in July that year, and I became a sales director and earned my first car and replaced my teaching income within that year. So for me, it wasn't that I started out the gate like, I'm going to be a national sales director, I'm going to do these awesome things. It was more like, I need $200 because we were living on $200 of gas and groceries for a family of 4. I actually defrosted a credit card I'd frozen in the freezer for emergencies that had $125 left on it to pay for my starter kit. So it's been a big journey for me. It's been something that I have learned a lot in, and I know that I have friends in all different direct sales and in network marketing and MLM. And so one of the things that we do is just kind of collaborate together. So that's all we're doing here on this call today, is just collaborating and seeing what questions you're going to ask me, because I haven't heard them in advance, and let me answer them and help you out. Okay? So go.
Deal. Okay. So the one thing I totally admire about you is your sense of team. And give us some tips on building that sense of team, or what it looks like. I know Mondays are totally out for you because you're like, we have Monday meetings.
Yeah.
But can you kind of give us a sense of what that looks like? Because right now we are lacking that, other than with like way up on big calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like build that more locally or more in our group and then expand.
Okay. So there's sort of, our team is has a little bit of an esprit de corps, I would say. Hey, like that's what you're talking about. This sense of people doing things together. Like they don't get to go on the trips, and yet they will like sell their souls to help me go. It's super weird. So I think what that is, we call it sort of an it factor in our team. I think where it started, so it didn't evolve, like it didn't just start that way. Like I didn't just hit the gate and all of a sudden I had all these people coming, doing things. So first of all, your social media presence, right? You have you probably have a Facebook group. Am I right? For your team? Yeah. Okay. So in the beginning, when I started a Facebook group and had a team to talk on there, it was like talking to myself, just crickets. It was me going like, Bueller. So the first thing I want to tell you is that the number one way to get interaction is by asking a question. It does not have to be anything about your business. I don't know why, but it's like psychologically impossible for people to not answer a question on social media. This is why they answer like what their birth name would be or what their elf name would be or whatever the hell is going on social media, right? They just cannot not do that. And so I would ask things like, tell me about your favorite product. I would ask like, what's one thing you'd never leave home without? I would say, what's one thing you always forget when you're traveling? Like little stupid questions. I would post pictures of me wearing 2 different color lipsticks and ask their opinion. Anything. Because what happens then is that the more that they comment, then the more the algorithm goes up in your Facebook group, which means that your group is more likely to be seen in the main feed. And people are lazy, like they're not going to click on your link and they're not going to click there and go through the group. They're just going to see whatever they see when they're scrolling. So the more comments that there are, the more often that gets shown up in that main feed. Okay? I also got a few consultants to be ringers. So this is where I was like, listen, dude, I need you. I need you to comment on every damn thing I say. Do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. And I just gave her prizes for doing it. I did the same thing in my customer group when it was first brand new. I just would say to people like, dude, comment on it all. And then at the end, I'll ask you what you really wanted. Okay? Seriously. Do it. It just increases. It's like the Walmart bin philosophy. You know when you're at Walmart and you see that bin of movies and no one touches it until one person goes in to see if like The Outsiders is in there or something. I don't know. And then all of a sudden people are like digging through the thing. Same deal. The more comments that there are, the more people think it's popular or whatever, and then the more they're likely to comment. You could say, what's your favorite flavor? Approve it. That's it. Doesn't have to be crazy. According to the algorithms that I've studied for social media, your best time to post is actually at 7 o'clock in the morning. I am not up at 7 in the morning, or I am, but I am not lucid. And no one wants to talk to me. So I use an app called Cinch Share, CINCH. It's like $10 a month, and it's freaking wicked. You set it up. You can post everything you want to post for your page or your group in advance. So I don't know, like maybe it's because we're all over caffeinated on Prove It, but we're up at 3 in the morning and we're ketos. So like we have tons of energy. So then at 3 a.m, I'm all inspired. They're not awake. And so I'm just wasting my time, but you can schedule it. If you don't want to pay for the app, go in your Facebook group and you can hit the little schedule button. The advantage of SynthShare though is that you can create those posts and they're there forever in the library, and then you can go back and reuse them, which is great. You can edit them, you can do whatever. So that's something I do. I make sure to post at 7 a.m, 3:30, because they see it before they leave for after work. Because you know what they do? They go in their car and then they do this. Like, you see it in parking lots outside of office buildings. Right? They don't want to go home because their children are there, but they don't want to be back at work. So they're just like mindlessly scrolling. That's the best time. And then if you have a lot of moms on your team, I find 8:30, 9 o'clock is great for interaction because the kids are in bed. And they're mindlessly, then they're doing what other people do after work. Yeah. Right? Half watching a Netflix show. So they're more likely to interact with you. Same with Facebook Lives, anything like that. Those are best done at about 8:30, 9 o'clock. Okay? So that's how I did it social media wise. In person, one of the ways that I did it, first of all, is we always visualized having a large group. And so even when we had like 2 or 3 people in the meeting space, I brought a bag of stuffed animals with me and we put them on the chairs. And then I'd be like, these are our unit members. Like, we're going to recruit Snuggles the unicorn. It's going to be great. So we just kind of visualized having this big group, this big camaraderie. I made sure to like and comment on pretty much everything they ever posted. I made sure to talk, you got to brand your team. Like I always say, if a perfect stranger on Facebook, like somebody who barely knows you, does not know what your Facebook team name is, you haven't branded correctly. Okay? So I'm Thompson's Transformers. Everybody knows that. Like, you can't be on my team, on my Facebook for like 14 seconds without me mentioning my team and how awesome they are and praising them, taking pictures with them, all of that stuff, right? Just really talking about the unit goals, like the team goals. We underestimate that, and I think this was a very hard lesson for me to learn as a leader, is that they actually cared about the stuff that I was going for too. Like earning my first car, I thought, why do they care? They don't have to drive a car. They don't get to drive it. But it means something to them. When I hit a certain level, that means that they could earn that level. Right? And it increases their belief in themselves. If anything, it allows them to say, you know, to their friends, well, maybe I'm not doing that, but my leader just did, when they've just gotten recruited, you know, and their friends, like, I know in Mary Kay, that's the first thing. Like, you just open your starter kit. They're like, do you have the pink Cadillac? You're like, yeah, ass. It's at the bottom of my bag. Like, every time. And it's so gratifying to be able to be like, I do. It's right there. You should probably look both ways before you cross the street. So I mean, that really helps a lot of fun. I think training meetings often become like, you have 2 hours together, so you better freaking pack it full. You better make sure it's like school. People love school, right? Oh, yeah. It's weird how they don't. You know, and I think one of the things too is that, like, you think these women or men that you have on your team have social skills. They don't. Like, we did an entire meeting on how to shake hands and how to stand at the door when you were waiting for them to open it and you're there for a presentation. Your body language, those things, they matter. And they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to hug. We had a whole, like, half a meeting on how to hug. They do that A hug, you know? Their bums are like this far apart. And the awkward. Like, you know, how to get them from, so for us, we do satin hands at the sink at a party, and they scrub their hands and take off the dead skin, and then how to get them from the sink to the table. And these girls will just like, um, whenever you're ready. And they wonder why they don't sell anything. Because they don't know how. And it's not about the product knowledge, right? But we spend half of our meetings talking about the product knowledge and inspiration. They don't need to be inspired. They do, but they need actual skills. And then it's actual skills that they can use in their real lives too. So that helped me a lot to get people to the meetings that weren't necessarily interested in selling. Because I would be like, cool, we're doing personal development stuff. You should come. It's like free personal development. Anybody should want that, right? It's expensive to do those things. So like personality tests, people love personality tests. They're fun. Do them together. Do practice appointments together. You know, like how would they close it to, you know, for example, okay, yeah, you guys offer what, 5 prove-its for 45 or whatever, right? The samples. Do they know how to get them from the sample to buying it online? You do. Does that mean they do? No. No. And every time you think they do, they're like, they don't. And these women, like for me, I mean, my women are super smart and they run a house and they have children and they have a mortgage and yet they're dumb as freaking stumps because their fear gets in the way and then they just shut right down. They actually have no idea. What do I say? You know, and I really noticed this actually about Prove It in general is that there isn't a lot of training because my husband's in Prove It, right? And there isn't a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a lot about like what ketones are and why they're awesome, but there isn't like, now you sold them this. Next step is this. So I'm like, so did you follow up with everybody that you sold samples to? Well, no, they'll ask me. Sure, they will. See how that goes for you. They totes will.
How do you track your customers, Carol? Like, how would you do your follow-ups? How do you do that?
Okay, so in the beginning, I used paper and pen, honestly. So I used an old school calendar, like just like one of these. Ah, that was attractive, right? Just like right up my nose. Okay, so I just used one of these, okay? And I'd have the appointment with them, and I would flip forward 3 weeks or whatever, and I'd write her name, follow up miracle set, or whatever. Okay, that's it. Nothing crazy. I don't really love paper planners, so this worked. Oh, wow. Sorry, light in my face. This worked really, really well for me. And then now I use an app. There's a special program designed for Mary Kay, but it allows you to put a follow-up date in when you do your invoicing. The other thing is that my Facebook group is really how I follow up with my customers too. So I have a customer-only Facebook group, and I just schedule a quarterly sale, and that's going to be different for you guys, right? But, you know, it really is just as simple as like even just taking your phone and putting it in as a reminder, you know, 2 weeks from now or whatever. The other option is, I don't know if iPhone lets you do this, but Android does, and there's an app called Pulse, P-U-L-S-E, that allows you to schedule texts. So I do that a lot. So like I had an appointment with somebody, then I schedule a text in the second I leave her house. I'm in her driveway, and I schedule it like, hey, just, you know, letting you know your product should be there soon. So I do it like 3 days from now, right? So great to meet you. Just loved being around your space, your energy, whatever. Okay, your house, compliment her on anything. And then I would schedule it again for after she's had her products for a few days. Tell me what your favorite thing is about it. And then schedule it again while I'm standing there, like while I'm in the driveway. Mary Kay Ash was a really beautiful and brilliant woman, and she really believed in the din-din club. She called it the do it now, do it now, do it now. Because guilt weighs on us. And otherwise what we do is we do this thing where we're like, yeah, okay, we're going to do it later. And then your brain goes, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And by the way, you're a failure. because you didn't follow up with Cindy. And don't forget about Cindy. Don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. And then it reminds you really, really loudly at 3 a.m, which is absolutely when you should not be texting people. So I love those kinds of scheduling things. Because Facebook Messenger is really annoying at 3 a.m. You're playing Disney Emoji Blitz, you're like half out of it, and then it goes bing, and you're like, I have to react to that? Like, no. So instead, I like to schedule the texts. Sorry, keeping it real.
Right up.
I totally love you.
Lazy people get stuff done, and I'm lazy, so it's not like I do a ton of extra work. I just really find that being efficient is better for me than anything else. Like I have stupid things like these pouches on my walls. They say order, deliver, file. Chuck, 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 done. You know, my to-do list is 6 things every night that I write out, 6 most important things. None of them can be more than 15 minutes. So it doesn't say clean the house. Follow up with all customers, because then, you know, I mean, the reason that people stay in direct sales and network marketing, and the reason that people are attracted to it more than a traditional job, is not just the freedom and flexibility. It's also that level of self-esteem improvement that happens because of being in something like this. Yes? And yet it can also be really devastating to the ego, and it can really harm you and your psyche. So you didn't join this business to feel like crap, right? And so then if you set yourself up for failure and you decide that you're going to need 3,000 things on your to-do list, and if you don't get those things done, you're a total jerk and you should quit right now, you will always fail. You will never feel good. And you want to feel good, yes? So that's it. 6 things, nothing crazy. And the worst that happens is I move it to the next day, but there's a great sense of accomplishment that comes from finishing it. So you finish it regardless. My friend who's a top Tupperware person says, no sex, no supper, just Tupper, Tupper, Tupper. And it's like, that's your goal. Like, you don't get to rest till that's done. You don't get to do anything. There's no Netflix till that's done. But that doesn't mean there's no Netflix, right? It just means, because there's also that tendency for people like us to work 24 hours a day. That's bad too. So, you know, I mean, the number one thing on my 6 most important things list is 20 minutes of meditation a day. And that's okay too. And essential for me and the safety of the people around me. Okay? So just those things, setting your schedule up so that you are not overwhelmed and that you can shut off. So that's where the scheduling helps. This and the Facebook scheduler and the text scheduler is then when you're on, and you know when you're on, and it doesn't matter when it is, right? But you know when your brain is like all synapse firing and you're like full of ideas and you're yelling into the universe and no one's there, because usually it's 3 a.m. So this way you can schedule. I know that Scott's upline Karina, like at 3 a.m, there were like 50 posts on her group. I'm like, dude, who is reading that? No one. Schedule it. Because then they wake up in the morning and there's 50 posts. And you know what we do? We go, I'll get to that later. And then this is the other thing you're doing a disservice to your team with, is then they say, I'll get to that later. Then they don't. Then you add more things for them to read. And they say, I'll get to that later. And then there's more things for them to read. And then they're like, I'm out. It's too overwhelming. And I feel shame because they didn't keep up. And then anyone who feels shame does nothing. So you are far better off doing 1 post a day in your group than you are doing 10 at once. Okay? Resist the urge. Schedule them.
A great book that you think would be good for us and Prove It, because you know how our leadership kind of runs, or how our, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A book you'd recommend, or a video, or somebody to follow, like a mentor to follow, or somebody along that line?
Okay, I have so many, because this is part of my daily routine, is that I have my iPad right beside my bed, and I have YouTube queued up on it to playlists, motivational playlists that I've created. And the very first thing I do as soon as the alarm goes off is press play. Okay? That's it. I have it ready to go. It is impossible. Oh, my free meeting will end in 10 minutes. So then what do? Here, you know what? Screw them. We'll just upgrade. Hang on. I'm upgrading. And then I'll cancel. Because I do. So yeah, it's impossible to sleep when somebody's yelling at you about your motivation. So The World Within is really, really good on YouTube. And then I like those weird ones with like the Rocky music playing in the background, all that crap. I like that. You know, those ones that are like, failure's not an option. And then it's all those little clips and they're all yelling at you. I mean, anything like that to get you out of bed. TED Talks as well has tons of different things on personal motivation and stuff like that. So I'm distracted because I'm like hitting the upgrade button ridiculously and it's not letting me upgrade. I know. Thanks. Upgrade. Okay. Worst case scenario, we'll dial back in. Oh, it's taking me to the billing plan. Hang on. Upgrade account. Pause now. You can ask me a question. Well, I got this going on here.
What's going on? Jess, do you have any questions? Jess has questions usually. Jessie.
Oh, hang on. Did I mute her though? Just a second. Are you unmuted? There you are. Okay. Hi.
Hi, Carol. I actually haven't, I was just gave you the questions the other day, so I haven't really been thinking about them. So you kind of talked about like following up a little bit. That's been my biggest downfall, I think, has been the following up. And then you've just hit a lot of things on the head, you know, there's so much education, I guess, coming from Prove It that I feel overwhelmed and I'm getting lost. And you said it. I just feel like, okay, now I've missed it. Now okay, now I feel embarrassed and now I feel like a loser. So now I'm not going to do it. And
yeah,
I'm thankful for Tara because she actually still keeps pulling me back in, not on purpose. It's just because she's excited or
yeah,
I'm excited and she's not. We just keep bouncing off each other that way. But my biggest thing is just what to do next, because all I hear is it will come, and I'm just like, but I'd like to kind of have a little more control than it will come.
Okay, so that's a really good, like, universal question. Okay, this is not separate to Prove It. So how long have you been in, Jessie?
So I started taking the product in September. I became a promoter in October.
Okay, so like not very long at all, really, in the scheme of things. Yes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and because the company is really new, then they're like, and now we're doing this, and here's some broth, and here's this, and you're like, I mean, seriously, because I'm technically a promoter underneath Scott, and I'm like, okay, thanks, HQ. Stop emailing me. Okay, so instead, right? So here's what I want you to do. First of all, is I want you to set an alarm in your phone for 15 minutes of catch up on the products. That's it. Set an alarm, and you spend 15 minutes. So the second that alarm goes off, you put it on a timer, and you stop everything. No distractions, right? Because anytime you're distracted, anytime you try and multitask, your IQ actually goes down 15 points. So do that twice. You're multitasking in 3 different directions, and suddenly you have to ride a special bus. It's true. Okay? So don't do it, okay? Focus on what you're doing. So I don't care if you got to lock yourself in the bathroom or in your car. A very magical place, the car. I'm sure people think I do a lot of work in my pink Cadillac or that I'm just sitting out there crying. I don't know what, but I do a lot of work in my car. It's very easy to focus in my car, in the driveway. So 15 minutes catching up on product knowledge, whatever. Okay? That's it. When that timer goes off, I don't care if you're in the middle of something or you're down the Google rabbit hole. You know, now I'll find out about this, and then I'll find out about this, and then it's 8 o'clock and the kids haven't been fed. And then you feel like a terrible mom, okay? I don't know if you have kids, but you know what I mean, okay? I want you to stop no matter what. 15 minutes only. If you spent 15 minutes only per day just learning about the product, you would get more knowledgeable. The other thing is I want you to track something. So for us, it's faces. So a face is an appointment, right? It's us getting that product on a face. So if it's at a party, then I have like 6 faces at that party. But I make it a non-negotiable that per quarter, I see 100 faces no matter what. No matter what, right? If I'm getting to the end of that quarter and I haven't seen 100 faces, I'll like go borrow my neighbors. I'll suddenly become super desperate, not because of my paycheck, not because of all those intangible things that sometimes are really hard to track. I know that the more, for example, samples that you get out there, the more successful you will be. Yes? It's just math. The more people who try prove it, then the more successful you'll be. So they don't even have to be full-size samples, right? They can be those little, like you can split one into little baggies or whatever. But the more that you give out, you could track that. You could track the more sample packs that you're doing. You could track, I don't know, the number. Like you can't track the intangible, the things you don't have control over. Like you couldn't say, I'm going to non-negotiably get 5 new recruiters or promoters or whatever in my unit or in my team every month. You don't have control over that. That is not action. So what can you do? What is an actionable thing that you can track? Whatever it is, because I don't know. I don't know enough about it to do that. But it could simply be like, for example, a lot of my girls struggle with social media. They're not good at promoting themselves at all in social media. So I get them, you know, like there were those people who post like 5 times a year and most of them are recipes, you know? And then they're like, why isn't anybody buying anything from my Facebook group? I'm like, nobody knows who you are. So I get them tracking 5 posts a day. Okay. And one of them's a business post in their business page or group, or like why I love my company kind of post. That's it. It could be, look at my awesome Peter's Milkshake t-shirt. Like it doesn't have to be crazy. Like just 5 a day. Okay. That is Peter's drive-in, right? That you're wearing on your shirt. Yeah. Calgary. So, okay. So, yeah. So you're just doing that. Okay. Just track something that is doable, but still a little bit of a stretch. So look at the activity you're doing now and then up it by maybe 20%, not 100. 100 equals shame. So the book I would really recommend for all leaders is Brené Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. It's all about shame. And the more you learn about shame, the better of a leader you'll be and the better of a seller you'll be. Because I really feel like it all goes down to that, especially when you're selling something that's a health and wellness product. Because people feel shame and they stop. So your goal here is to like follow up with your customers without making them feel shame. You know, like for me, it wouldn't be like, what do you mean you haven't used up your miracle set yet? Don't you wash your face? Are you disgusting? What's wrong with you? That would not work very well. Sometimes I say that. So tracking those things, track your shame and realize as well that there's no such thing as balance. So when you're a mom, that means that there's only harmony. Balance implies that all things deserve equal weight at all times. That is not realistic, and it's just a way to feel like crap. So instead, for example, like on month end, my kids eat cereal for 3 straight days. They will not die. It's filled with riboflavin. They'll be fine. Okay? They'll either learn how to cook or they'll live off cereal. But it's month end. That's my priority. But on Sundays, when I spend the entire day with my family, my phone is off. And I don't care what's going on. Zig Ziglar says the biggest mistake that business owners make, especially entrepreneurs, is that when they're with their family, they're thinking about their business. And when they're with their business, they're thinking about their family. You know, and they're using either one of them as an excuse instead of a reason. So when you do have to make your business a priority, then you think about the reason why you would do that. One of our national sales directors used to say, when you decide to work in your office and you don't really want to work, I want you to picture you taking your 4-year-old's face in your hands and just being like, I didn't love you enough to send you to college. That's it. That'll get you working. Okay? So like that. Those things. Make family time a priority. Do not let them see you on your phone all the time. If you're working, that's different. Then they're the ones interrupting your work time. And you need to school them on that. That's not okay. You know, I remember Case when he was like 8 years old. We were on the way home from science camp and his friend was in the car and the phone rang and I answered it because it was month end and I was coaching a consultant and the kid starts talking to Case and he goes, shh, mommy's making money. They know. They know. When our kids were little, when I left for a party or a makeover or whatever, if they didn't give daddy crap and they were really good, they got a toonie in the morning that they could put in the jar. And they also could not guilt trip me. So we had a big conversation about how I'll miss you so much is not love. It's guilt. That's not love. That does not make me feel good. Love makes people feel good. So have an amazing party. I believe in you. I'm so proud of you. That's love. Okay. And so we talked about that. They were 2 and 4, you guys. Like just barely 3, I think Case was or Anna was when we started, you know? So like young. So they got to put the toonie in the piggy bank. And if I had an appointment at my house, I put a loonie on the edge of the table. And if they interrupted me for any reason besides their faces being on fire, I would slide the loonie off the table and put it in my pocket. And then if they kept asking me questions, I would walk to the fridge where those jars were and start taking money out. They stopped. And then we went to Toys R Us at the end of the month, right? And we donated part of it to the food bank and they got to see that. They got to see where their money went. It's really powerful. And so now they know I'm making money. Like they don't want to be off the internet, but I'm on a live and if they're on the bandwidth at the same time, it gets glitchy. They're off the internet. Get it? And this isn't even for my business.
Thank you.
But it doesn't matter. Okay. So it's that's important. That was a really long answer to a short question. Sorry. Hopefully it helped. The other thing is podcasts, you guys. I don't know if you're a podcast people, but Zig Ziglar has a really great one. And then there's a 7 minutes, if I could find my phone, because I shut it off and I don't know where it is. 7 minutes, 7 minutes to a great day or something like that. It's awesome because it's little snippets of different motivational speakers. And then that it gives you the link so that you can listen to the whole thing. And it allows you to kind of find the people that you relate to. I skipped right through the Joel Osteen ones. Like I loathe him with a fiery vengeance. So I'm always like, zzz. No. Okay. So like those guys, that's great. As well as learning about your own personality. Personality Hacker is fantastic. I don't know if you're MBTI people, like the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram stuff. They're great at about personal development. And because it's geared towards your own personal personality, there are specific ones for you. And then I like that because it's like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. Okay, so my goal is to do this. Okay, those are my favorites. Go ahead, ask me something.
Yeah, I'm like, this was a whole lot of tips and stuff, and I totally enjoyed it. I don't know what else to ask. I'll probably think of lots of things at 3 a.m.
Well, yeah, that's what we do. Okay, so let me first of all, break any goal you have into small pieces. I don't care what it is. So for me, it's always like lip glosses or charcoal masks or something else. And my customers love that. Make sure your customers and your team knows your goal. If you ask them and they go, then you're not doing a good enough job of proclaiming what your goal is. It should be like branded on you. Everybody should know. And you have to tell them in terms that they get. I can't tell you how many times I've seen on direct, like on social media, they're like, I can't wait to be a star, blah, blah, diamond, something. Nobody freaking cares. They don't know what that is. Okay, so make sure that they know what that is. Like I'm moving into management, or I'm moving into this, or I'm buying this. Make sure that they see the way that Prove It has improved your life, not just your health. You are selling your life to people. I sell way more Prove It than Scott does. I mean, he does, but like, and I'm not trying. Why? Because like, I'm excited, and excited people sell stuff. The last 4 letters of enthusiasm are I am sold myself. And I know you're so worried about, you don't want to be those rabid marketer people. Like, please. Ew. So don't do that. Don't be, and try not to copy the posts of other people. It will not sound like you. Make everything you do authentic. Develop your own personal brand, whatever it is. Okay? People know me as the irreverent, funny, not so much the typical blonde hair Barbie, blue eyeshadow, Mary Kay lady. And they follow me because of that. And it attracts people. It will not attract some people, and that's okay. You know, there are people who don't like peaches, right? So that's it, okay? So just develop your brand. Make sure that everybody on social media, in your life, whatever, knows what your goal is. Make sure that you are not working more than 6 hours a day in no matter what you're doing. No matter what your goal is. I mean it. Shut it down. You will lose your freaking mind. You really will. If you can't track it, use the Pomodoro technique. You know, where the 45 minutes, use a timer. It's Pomodoro is Italian for tomato. So use those little tomato timers. 45 minutes of work, 15 minutes of reward. This is how I get through really terrible things like paperwork, because I really hate paperwork. And I delegate a lot, but there's some things you just can't, you know? So I do 45 minutes of paperwork, and then I get 15 minutes of a Netflix show that I haven't seen yet. And I will force myself to pause it. And it won't matter where it is. If somebody just got shot, it does not matter. Boop. And I'll do it, or I'll do it based on tasks. You know, Joyce Goff has like licorice, which is probably like that's not going to work for Prove It, right? But whatever. It could be, you know, those keto snacks that make you have the trots. But whatever. Anna ate one of those whole bags of those Smart Sweet gummy bears, by the way, the other day. And I was like, do you know how much fiber is in that? Like, those are not for just consumption. She spent some time in the potty. All right, so she had licorice. She had like 10 licorices over here, and every time she made a phone call, she got to move a licorice over to this jar. And then when she was done 20 phone calls, she got to eat the licorice. Like stupid things like that. Track that. Reward yourself. And give yourself like kindness and grace. This is not an overnight business, no matter how you were marketed to. And unfortunately, like MLMs and network marketing have a bad reputation for that. Like I joined, I farted, and I made $10,000. Enjoy. And then you don't do that, and then you're like, I must suck. Right? It's not the reality. Sorry, but it's true. I mean, how many times do we see that? You don't have to do anything. Just sit on the computer and the money's just going to rain from the sky. It'll be great. It doesn't really work like that. And it doesn't matter what company you're in. Somebody's going to try and feed you that BS, and it's not true. It takes hustle, and it takes heart, and it takes you following up, and it takes you being committed to your goals, even if that's only an hour a day. So I just tell my team, same thing. I'm like, listen, you guys, like, I love you whether you sell $10,000 a month or $2,000 a month or $200 a month or $20 a month, as long as you're congruent to what you wanted to do. That's important to me. And if you're a Mary Kay Beauty consultant, then you're either a Mary Kay Beauty consultant full-time for 8 hours or 6 hours a day, or part-time, or even for that 1 hour a day, you better be 100% all in what you're doing. So if you want to do it a little bit, like my husband does, then when he's doing it, he better do it 100% all in. Don't half-ass it. It makes everybody else look bad. And it screws us over, the people who are full on hustling. Because every person who fails out there becomes a story that other people like to tell to stop themselves from doing something that could be amazing for themselves. So yeah, that's it. Okay. And at your team meetings, like, have some fun. Allow time to socialize. Create power partners. Play games. You may be like, oh my gosh, they drove all this way. They did these things, and now I'm wasting their time. You're not.
And you meet every Monday for 2 hours?
Yeah.
And then do you guys have Zoom calls too for people that aren't in your space?
No, we have what we call an adoptee program in Mary Kay. So then wherever you are, as long as there's a director nearby you, then you would attend their meetings and do their training. They don't get paid for it. It's just how we roll. So I have a bunch of people in my unit, like for my team meetings and training, and they're amazing because they're more inspired and excited sometimes than we are. And they're the ones on the phone to the other people. Like, they encourage each other. So I don't make any money off them, but we certainly do in the end. And then as well, like, I usually take my meeting, I take my laptop and I throw it on Facebook Live in the group. That being said, I do not speak to the laptop. Those people deserve me. They're there. So it's there. It's happening, but I'm not talking to it. And I won't answer anybody's questions in it or anything else live. Because you'll just be distracted the whole time and you'll cry. And you lose those IQ points. So, that's a Brandon Barber thing, by the way. He's a coach for direct sales. So, yeah, he always says that. 15 IQ points, 2 different tasks, and what you're doing, and you're on the short bus. So, yeah, it's not so politically correct, but true.
Jess, do you have anything else?
I can't think of anything right now. Just like you, I'll probably think of it at like 3 a.m. or something. So.
That's okay. Find me on Facebook, friend me, message me, whatever. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know what, I'd actually like to do this with you again, Carol, maybe like later on. We're going to that more event and stuff, and maybe we'll have a little more insight or whatnot. But yeah, I've heard the term, I have to be a leader even for my leaders. Mm-hmm. I don't have the right questions that I feel I need. I don't know if that's making any sense. Like, sometimes you don't know what it is that you need, but you're not really getting any direction either. So all of this kind of stuff definitely helps. And I appreciate that you've been able to do this for Tara and us. So
no problem. I did most of what I do on my own. I didn't have a great upline. You know, she was very inconsistent. Like, she'd call me and motivate me for 3 hours and then leave me alone for a year. So I didn't really have it. I had to figure out how to motivate myself. And I think that's where I've gotten to be successful, is because of that. You know, I have like a whiteboard marker in my shower, and I write things in my shower, like affirmation statements and stuff, and then shower and it goes away. But it's like that you're seeing that you're feeding yourself every day, because you can't pour out of you if you don't have anything fed into you.
Yeah.
So you can't lead if you don't feel this. And this business, like, the best thing about it is there's always somewhere up to go. And the worst thing about it is there's always somewhere up to go. So just when you feel successful, then you're like, oh, by the way, you're also a big loser. Enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, but you didn't do this, but you didn't do this. And you have to find that. Like, you have to find that intrinsic motivation that has nothing to do with the money you made or the number of packages you sold or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or you will lose your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like me and my kids going.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, like, I mean, I think what changed it for them was that I told them that we were going to Disneyland when I became a sales director. It was on our vision board. We talked about it every day. Every time that I said I had to work, what are we working for? We're working for Disneyland. You know, they were little. And then when we took them, it was like that broke that belief barrier for them. You know, I think earning my first car broke the belief barrier for my parents. It's the first place I drove.
Oh, wow.
You know, my hairdresser told me that if I ever earned a she that she would lay down in the road and let me run her over with it. So I went there next. Get in the road, bitch. She was like, I knew you were coming. But that broke the belief barrier. And then that made people go, oh, maybe I could do this. And I can't tell you how many people have told me they signed up for other companies because they saw me being successful in this one, which is like, well, why didn't you join me? But whatever. I'm happy to see people do amazing things and to be able to control their lives in a way that you can't in a regular job. And I couldn't even imagine going back to a regular job now.
Yeah.
Okay, so just don't treat it like a hobby. Treat it like a job, even if your job is only for an hour a day. It's still a job. If you went to it, you would do it well and with integrity and with excellence every single time.
Awesome.
Okay?
You're
Yeah.
inspirational. I totally love you for doing this for us.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Anytime. Anybody have any other things or whatever? No?
Everything was answered. Like every
Yeah.
time you guys had a question, I was like, damn it, that was mine.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
They're all the same. I mean, every business is the same. It's the same as a list of objections. And like, I mean, nobody has once told me they couldn't wash their face because they have a bag of howler monkeys underneath the stairs. Like, you know, they don't say weird stuff. Like, they all say the same thing. So just, you know, it's the same in anything. Why are people going to stop? Because they feel shame. They feel fear. Most fear is related to shame. So I really feel like studying why we get like that, it would be effective for you. Brené Brown. And there's tons on YouTube for Brené Brown as well and TED Talks as well. So if you're not a reader, there's Audibles and she reads them. You know, they're great. And yeah, I just try and do like that. In beginning, while I'm doing my makeup, I'm feeding my brain with something motivational and then not something I have to take notes for, you know? And then I take a break midday and I read for 15 minutes for something that is something that I might need to learn, you know, like study. And I shut my phone down when I'm with my family, unless I'm sort of half with them and they know that. Like if we're watching Clueless, sorry, but I'm working. I'm still there. I'm touching you, but that's it. That's all you get.
Cool. And when's your party, Tara? Beginning of June, right?
Yeah.
I'm so
Awesome.
excited.
Me too.
And Aviana, she started inviting people again too. She's pretty fun.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, it should be really fun. What are we doing? Do you know? Do you want to do spa this time?
Yeah, maybe. I just
We should do face masks.
Yeah.
You guys are yappers, so makeup is hard to teach you. All talking. You should have seen it the last time. It was like this huge table of people all trying to learn one look, and then the teenagers are all over here trying to learn one look, and I was like, okay. And so, I mean, 12 years of teaching junior high, I got the practice for that. But yeah, spa parties are fun.
True. It was a good party.
It was really good. It was really fun. We're good. Okay?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I'll be up in GP soon. And yeah. All right. And I'll send you the recording. Oh, I didn't record. Yes, I did. Okay, good. I upgraded and I recorded the whole thing. So we're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.